All right, I think we're live. So,
right.
hello everybody. Hello. Sorry, we're a little late here. Let's just check a few things. Got a little. So, Facebook deletes the stream, unfortunately, if we wait more than 10 minutes to go live. And I was trying to get something ready for the show at the very last minute, and I missed it exactly by a minute. It was 10:10 when I hit the live button, and it had already deleted it. So that was really, really unfortunate. But thank you for joining us. Good morning, everybody. And we are now in the second full week of January of 2022. And of course, my dog is barking right now.
All right.
Sorry. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. All right, so let's get started. Hopefully, the dogs will calm down. It's a little bit hard. I don't have a private space here to do this, so I'm in the living room with the dogs. But okay, so a lot is happening right now. We're going to look at what's going on the national level, and we're also going to talk a little bit about what's going on in California. So, to get started, Joe Manchin has recently decided that he's not going to agree to a $1.8 trillion spending offer. He said it's no longer on the table. The White House proposed it to Joe Manchin in late 2021. So again, Joe Manchin is stymieing any chance for Joe Biden to pass his key legislation, Build Back Better. And I don't really know what Manchin wants out of all this other than to be obstructionist. I mean, he's a former Republican, and Republicans do that very well. They know how to be obstructionist and stop anything from passing. And it seems that Joe Manchin has decided that that's what he's going to do as a Democrat, is stop the Democrats. What do you think, Carlos?
Well, good morning, everybody. Wherever you may be watching us from, it is good to be here. It is a beautiful Sunday morning. I haven't been outside. I got to tell you the truth. I haven't been outside today. But from what I see out the window, it looks beautiful out there. Manchin, a Republican. He is a Democrat by title, but in heart, he's a Republican. And we all know that. That's the danger of centrists. That's the danger of moderates. That's the dangers of those Democrats that play the fine line, that are in the middle, that they can flip flop at any given point, at any given time. They can go either direction. Most likely, they go to the right, and this is exactly what's happening. We have a uh, a very staunch centrist that doesn't believe in this kind of policies. He doesn't want them. He's been playing around for a long time, for months. He's going to continue to play the game. He's got a taste of power, so he's using his power. That's what he's doing. He's using his power. The problem that the Democratic Party has two problems. One is Manchin, we know that, but then they have a second problem, which is others. There are others like Manchin. The minute that if Manchin decides to go along, then you have cinema that's gonna pop out, you know what I mean, and start her little game. If not, it's gonna be somebody else. And then what we are going to end up with is pretty much someone else's bill. If this ever passes anything, the title of the bill should be Manchin's bill, because pretty much he's going to dictate what goes into the bill. And most likely, it's not going to be anything remotely to what it started to be. So, my opinion is that they have given too much attention to Manchin. They need to work around them. And I know that's easy said than done, but they have to find a weak link in the Republican Party. There are Republicans that are weak links. They're also in the center. that can be persuaded either way. They have to find those and pressure them through their base, and or however they're going to do it. But I think that would be a bigger possibility than getting Manchin to do anything remotely to what needs to be done. If not, again, yes, you're going to end up passing something, but it's not going to be something that we are going to celebrate. So that's my thoughts on Manchin. You got to work around that guy. We had
Yeah.
a holiday season. Nobody heard about Manchin. He went away. He was peaceful. As soon as the year was over, his name start popping up again. It's like he a feeling that it was like coronavirus coming around you.
Oh, not sure if it's my connection, but I kind of missed a little bit the lesson. But I saw the expression on your face. I think I got at least what you were trying to say. But I agree. I mean, Manchin is not a team player with the Democratic Party. He's basically broken off discussions with the Biden administration. And this plan that he basically said, nah, I don't think so, was, it was just including the very bare necessities of what Americans need, like free school, support for rising childcare costs, coverage of home care costs for the elderly, and expansion of free school meals. I mean, how can anybody be against that? Like that, you have to be so cruel. You have to be so anti-human to not be okay with a piece of legislation like that.
But they are.
Yeah, they literally don't
They
care
are.
about people.
They don't. As
And
long as they get theirs, Margaret, as long as these people in Washington have theirs, they don't care about the average person down there. We know that. And that comes from both parties,
yeah,
both
and mhm.
Democrats.
Yeah, and I think that the only reason why these things are really being pushed at all is because of Bernie Sanders and because of the squad. I think Bernie Sanders has a very strong influence on Biden. I think that they came to some agreement at the end of the 2020 primaries, and that's how Bernie got into such an important position. And he's sort of in the ear of Biden saying, like, we need at least this, we need at least this. And I think without Bernie, we wouldn't even have some of these items in this legislation. But again, it doesn't matter because Manchin has been given all sorts of power. The parliamentarian, we've like never heard of the parliamentarian having this much power before now. So to me, it sounds like the Democrats, they really don't want to fight for any of this. And it doesn't look good for Biden. I think that what they're doing now is they're really trying to play towards this right of center thing narrative with the economy. Biden was on the news recently talking about it, like, oh, we brought back all these jobs, our economy is doing so well, we're doing better than any other nation economically since the pandemic. That's his number one concern, but it's really lacking in nuance in terms of what this recovery means for people, and the fact that now the Biden administration is forcing people back to work after 5 days of being sick after they test positive. And why did they change those rules? I mean, just days before they changed the CDC rules on that, the CEO of Delta Airlines was complaining that he wasn't going to have enough staff. So, if the Democrats only care about the GDP going up annually, then there's a big problem because that requires people putting their lives at risk and giving a lot of their well-being. So I think that Democrats are betting on the wrong thing here. I think they should be betting on supporting people, improving their lives, and waiting and giving them a reason to vote for them. Because right now, what they're doing is they're just basically saying, look, we're betting on the people who are the wealthiest to turn out and vote. And we're betting on the fact that the Republican Party is going to probably try to attack us pretty hard and bring out and give their voters a reason to come out. So we're not really expecting our own base. So we're just not gonna give them anything. I mean, I feel like that's the kind of analysis that is coming from this, at least from within the White House. Like, I don't see them really taking seriously the voter base that got them into the White House in the first place. And I don't see them taking seriously how close they were to losing to Bernie Sanders in 2020, because he was winning plenty of primaries up until they consolidated behind Biden, until former President Barack Obama made phone calls to the people, to the other candidates like Pete Buttigieg, and promised them high level positions if Biden won. So I think that they are really disconnected from the reality here of this situation for them, and they're really making a big mistake. I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, they what have they offered to people for the midterms coming up so far?
I have always said this, Margaret. We have gone for the past year and a half, 2 years, really 2 years, a pandemic that has really greatly and irreversibly harmed the working class. It done some serious damage to the working class. What do we have to show for? That's the question. What do we have to show for? Okay, Trump didn't do anything. We got the message. You know, Democrats run on that message. That's what they ran on. Trump, 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 Trump. He's back, he's back, he's back, he's back. Okay, give us the difference. Show us the difference.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have that is different that we can say, wow, we like this. We support the party. We support the agenda. We support it. You know what I mean? Never mind Biden, never mind anything else. You know what I mean? I don't care if Biden is the president. Get the job done. A good example of what we have right now is the student loans,
Mm-hmm.
the student loan debt. All you're doing is kicking this thing down there, for another 2-3 months down the road.
Yep.
Same thing with moratoriums on rents. You're playing around with it. You're not doing anything. That, my friend, is not policy. That's lack of policy. That's lack of leadership. When you could only put band-aids on top of band-aids, it's like, we have a homeless crisis here in Los Angeles, and we know that it's huge. But if the best answer that you could come up with is tiny homes to put people in, you got tiny solutions for a huge problem. Those are not solutions. People are waiting. They're hungry. They're thirsty. They're dying for solutions. Something that can grab them. Something that can say, you know what? My taxes are paying for this. I like that. I don't care if I have to pay extra taxes. I see where it's going. I see how my family is going to benefit for that. I see where my community is going to benefit for that. I see where my city is going to benefit from that. But this far, I cannot think of something that we can say, wow, we have benefited of all these trillions of dollars that has been spent already on the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, they gave just a couple of stimulus checks. I mean, part of that was under the Trump administration, and then the other part, the 1,400, which they first promised to be 2,000, that was a one-time thing. That was a year ago when that happened, and the child tax credits, they're letting those expire. I mean, these things were just little temporary stuff. The rent moratoriums, foreclosure moratoriums, the student loan repayment moratorium, all of these things were just little temporary band-aids that they've completely pulled off, and people are again left with nothing. And the student loan debt, I mean, Joe Biden has to correct the wrong that he did in 2005. He supported legislation in 2005 that made it impossible for people to file for bankruptcy for student loan debt. So it stripped private student loans of bankruptcy protection, which ended up causing an explosion of private loan debt. And I'm just reading this out of Jacobin. And before Biden claimed to be a lion of the Senate. Oh, I know how to negotiate. Oh, I care about the working class. But Biden's nickname when he was a senator was the senator from NBNA, because he had such a cozy relationship with the credit card company. They were his largest donor. So Biden needs to correct this. He messed up. And I'm hoping that there can be some heat put on him. I'm hearing that the squad is saying that they need to put pressure on Biden regarding student loan debt. And there's a possibility, I saw an article saying there's a possibility that they're going to review this and they might actually change that. I don't know how they're going to do that, if it's possible through an executive order. But the reality is that it sounds like that through an executive order, he can wipe out the majority of the student loan debt. It's like 92% of student loan debt is federally owned. That leaves 8% that's in the private hands of banks, I guess, private banks. So he can change the lives for a lot of people, a lot of young people, the future generations, the people who are trying to raise future generations, and not only for them, but also a lot of older people are also footing the bill. It's in this Jacobin article, they said that the AARP, which is the Association of Retired Persons, found that Americans over the age of 50 account for an increasingly large share of the 1.8 trillion. In total, this group owed 289 billion as of 2018. So this isn't just like a young person issue, it's also an older person issue. So that means that student loan debt is affecting everybody in some way. And Biden refuses to do anything about it. Why? I mean, it's such an easy thing. Why does he refuse? It doesn't make any sense. Only way it makes sense is that Biden is not interested really in helping people. He's only interested in helping banks and credit card companies.
Yeah.
So
I think that, look, 2-3 months from now, he may come out and make a big announcement, and maybe somehow he feels the heat, the pressure, or he started understanding how important this is. And let's say that he decides to do this, but in my thinking always, because they only give us what they want us to know. I know that they sit down behind closed doors and they talk about all these things. They have all these advisors. They create a strategic plan of when they're gonna do things, how they're gonna do it, etc., etc., etc. Even if that is the case, that they have some intentions of doing something down the road, why wait? Let's get rid of the problem now and then focus on something else. We have housing to deal with the homelessness to deal with. I mean, the climate change to deal with.
voting rights.
Become, own the issue. Get rid of the student debt and then move on and fix something else. That's leadership.
Like if he, yeah,
Don't play games.
if he canceled student loan debt, he would win the votes of millennials, Gen X, Gen Z. I mean, it's ridiculous how he's willing to throw away the votes of all these people.
Well, he's playing politics. That's what he's doing. He's playing politics. Moving this down 3 months from now is playing politics. It's not solving it. It's not policy. People want to see policy change. It's the same thing with immigration. No one is talking about it right now. If you notice, not the news media, No politician, no one is talking about it. It's kind of, you barely see an article here and there, but the problem still exists at the border.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you not dealing with this aggressively? Do what you got to do, come out with a policy and move on, fix something else.
Yep.
People will embrace the Democratic Party or their agenda, if you will, not necessarily a person, but an agenda. And they will say, you know what? We like this. This is the party for the people, of the people. So far, it's not happening.
No, it's not happening. So, kind of question if it's, is it the party of the corporations, the party of the banks? I mean, we sort of know the answer there, but we still put pressure to make them the party of the people. But it's not looking too good right now. Not looking too good. And I think after the failure of Build Back Better, because they let Joe Manchin have so much power and so much say, a coal baron have so much say, that I think organizations are really scrambling now, like grassroots organizations, especially ones that were lobbying Congress, are trying to figure out now what to do, because I don't think anybody is expecting something new to come out in the next before the midterms, and because
Right.
Manchin is basically saying, I'm done negotiating this, I want to move on. So next thing on the table for them is voting rights, and I'm not sure what's going to happen there.
So the hard realities is that Democratic Party don't have a strong hand. They don't. Let's be honest with ourselves. They don't have super majority. It's only on paper. That is the main problem of the Democratic Party. And it can get worse. If they lose the House or if they lose the Senate, into a deeper right status. You get a few more uh, Republicans in the House, another Republican in the Senate. You're just going to have a lame duck president that will be able to do nothing for the next 3 years. Maybe pass some executive orders, but that's about it. But then he sets us back to square one. Then you have the possibility of Donald Trump again. Or even if he doesn't decide to run, you have the possibility of extreme right, pushing more of their agenda down the road. We saw what happened with the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has become an arm of the Republican Party, and they're still not dealing with those consequences of what they've done. They cannot deal with filibuster. They talk about it. So what are the answers right now? The answers lies on the laps of the Democratic Party. What choices are they going to do within the next month? They're going to have to come out, with some hard stuff, and I doubt it very much. If they have not done it this far, when they had the public behind them, when they wanted to see change come about in the nation, and people were willing to look at anything that Biden was going to do and accept it and embrace it or even support it, like some of the Bernie-crats, some of the Bernie people were willing to go along with it. They're going to be losing a lot of people, a lot of faith, and a lot of voters, because it becomes more of the same. It will be evident, it will be clear, it will be crystal clear that they have no intentions of changing anything.
Yeah, and I think that I'm really disappointed in the Progressive Caucus, because they broke with the squad on Build Back Better and the infrastructure bill. originally they were fighting to keep them coupled because they knew that the risk would be that if they passed the infrastructure first, that Build Back Better, that reconciliation bill would just be forgotten. It would be somehow in the Senate, it would be torn apart, or what has happened now, completely tabled. And it was pretty obvious that that was going to happen. And half of them, well, I guess more than half, because a good chunk of the Progressive Caucus decided to believe Joe Biden when he said that that wouldn't happen. And I hate to call them out, but like Pramila Jayapal, why did you do that? That you made a mistake. And the only group of people in Congress who saw this as a mistake and saw that it was very likely that when they decoupled it, we would not get Build Back Better were the Squad. So I think that the Progressive Caucus, they need to start listening to the Squad and stop listening to Joe Biden, because they're only going to screw themselves over and again and again if they keep believing the promises that come out of the White House. And the other thing that concerns me is that there's a huge push right now. And I do think that it's important. I do think that what happened a year ago, January 6th, is a really important thing to address and to focus on. But the excessive amount of focus in the cable news on it, as if this is something that needs to be talked about every single day, every news cycle, instead of discussing real issues, is very concerning to me. Because I think that what the Democrats are banking on is that they're going to do what they did in 2020, which is to say, look, it's either you pick us or you get fascism or you get Trump again. And you don't want Trump, right? And I think that's really unfair that they're doing that and that they're using this as a tool for them to stay in power, because it's extraordinarily risky, for one thing, because it's a very good chance that people are not going to turn out, even if it's true that if Biden or whatever the Democrat they put up in 2024 loses, even if it's true that they lose and the Democrats put in somebody who is basically a fascist, that I don't think that's going to be enough to convince people, because usually when these strongman type characters come into power is because people want change. This has happened time and time again across civilizations, going back to the Babylonians, that this happens, that the strong man comes in because people want change. And not only that, because of debt. And if anybody has read David Graeber's Debt, the First 5,000 Years, they know that he talks about this, that the strongman type politicians have come into power because people were in so much debt that they wanted somebody who would get rid of it for them, because it is so destructive. Debt is so destructive to a civilization. And the Democrats are not paying attention to history. They have not read David Graeber's book, apparently, and they're failing to see that they are the ones that are complicit and are the ones who are going to bring fascism to this country if it happens. And the reason why is because corporations would prefer fascism. Neoliberalism would prefer fascism over democracy, because it means that they can have more power consolidated to do whatever they want. So this is the risk. And the Democratic Party is playing into this game very easily. They are so blind to what they're doing and what they are unleashing in this country right now. And we are on the precipice of this. And not only that, we have the issue of climate change, and they're completely failing on that. So we're really in trouble if we don't get our politicians to do what we need them to do. And what we're asking, Carlos, is not like anything extreme either. A lot of the things we're asking are just for basic necessities, to keep people alive, to keep people from falling off the wagon, so that they can stay in their homes, so that they can feed their children, so that they can get an education, so that they don't die of the coronavirus, so that we don't die in these horrible climate change weather events. Right, we're not asking for anybody to give us like $1 million or anything like that. We're just asking for basic things, and it's just an absolute disgrace. And so I'm very worried about what's going to happen with the midterms and in the next couple of years going forward. I've heard that there might be a progressive challenger in 2024, but it depends on whether it's Kamala Harris running or Joe Biden running in 2024. I hope that either way that we do get a serious progressive challenger. I don't know who it will be. Could be Bernie Sanders, could be AOC, could be Nina Turner. I mean, these are like the most popular progressives right now. But I think that we really need to put the heat on the Biden administration in the primaries, because this is just too much to risk right now, given the situation that we're in.
Exactly. And look, there's a lot that we can continue to talk about this, but again, the summary of all this conversation is that up to this point, there hasn't much been changed. There have been some reversals of Trump policies, some of them, but we had a nasty person on the White House that spoke his mind, that had no discipline at all, that could care less about the way they talk to people. But then now we have someone that talks nice, but doesn't do anything, doesn't produce nothing, and leaves people pretty much in the desert. We're waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yep, that's right. Absolutely, we're waiting and waiting. So I think this is a good time. We're at the bottom of the hour now for us to kind of move on to a few other issues that are happening, in particular in California, but they do have an effect on the national level as well, because these two particular topics are related to healthcare, universal healthcare, and also to renewable energy. Right now, we are trying to make that transition into a renewable energy grid, and California has decided, has a body that regulates or oversees the public utilities. So that's the California Public Utilities Commission. So in December, they decided that they were going to make changes to the way net metering works for people, homeowners, or businesses that have rooftop solar. So rooftop solar is really important for us in terms of our transition to renewable energy. When we look at models of what a renewable energy grid looks like, they include rooftop solar. Rooftop solar is great because it decentralizes the energy grid, so it makes it more robust. So if there's a central point of failure, if you have solar panels on your house, you're probably going to be okay, right? But now here's the issue, is that this commission has decided that they want to actually charge homeowners for net metering to have rooftop solar. So what they're doing, there's more to it as well. It's not just that. Like I said, they want to charge residential solar customers who don't meet this like very, very stringent cutoff to pay a grid participation charge, which will add an extra $8 per kilowatt per month. So the estimate from the Vote Solar organization are saying that that's going to be an extra $48 a month for you just to be operating your solar panels. Another problem is that this is going to basically cause a sharp drop in the value of clean energy exports by about 80% for all future solar customers, including low income. So very bad. This is going to basically decimate the solar industry in California. there's a huge growing industry, and it's providing a lot of green energy jobs in California. There's a whole industry, and a lot of young people are involved in this industry. And it's got a lot of dynamics, right? It's like it's got the sales representative, it's got the person who is installing the solar, it's got the person who is um, testing the solar, who's installing the new panels into homes. And I know a little bit about this because in my own family, we just got solar set up in our house. So there's a lot of people involved, a lot of great jobs that are being created. And if this change by the commission goes through, it's going to kill a lot of jobs. Now, the reason why this is happening is because corporations want to build their solar farms. So they want to build these large scale solar farms, which first of all, we do need these, megawatt level solar farms, but they see people in having solar panels on their homes as a threat, because I guess they want to sell their solar energy to the homeowner, right? So they want to push us out, and so that they can maximize their profits. So they have gone into these commissions, and they're trying to convince them to pass these rules that will benefit these corporations over the people. And in the end, it's going to set us back and damage our ability to transition to a renewable energy only grid. So this is very bad. And if this happens in California, this will happen in other places, and it's going to slow down our transition because it's centralizing what we can do.
Yep.
In terms of making this transition happen, because it's really easy for homeowners to just be like, what, I'm just going to put it. I don't have to ask anybody questions. I mean, I just have to, get the city to approve it, but that's it. It's a lot easier to do things on the local level, on the municipal level, than it is on the state or federal level. And so they're going to slow it down, and they're going to consolidate the power. So this is a huge, huge mistake. And there's going to be a rally in both San Francisco and in Los Angeles coming up on January 13th. It's a Save Our Solar Jobs rally. So if anybody can make it out there, that would be great. And support the renewable energy transition, support the transition to green jobs. This is a just transition here. It's creating jobs. This is going to kill jobs if these rule changes happen. And we should not let that happen in the state of California.
Okay, do you have the location where this is happening?
Yeah. It's hang on, let me get it. I saw it. It's going to be at Grand Park, Grand GRAND Park in Los Angeles.
Right.
January 13 at 11 a.m.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And then the one in San Francisco is going to be at the same time, and it's going to be at the Civic Center Plaza. So if you're in San Francisco, you can join there. So that's happening. That's a really, really big deal. It's, again, it's going to hurt low-income communities. It's going to hurt our ability to transition, and it's going to kill jobs. And these jobs are like really great independent jobs that people can just get into, and start their own businesses, because it's so new, right? This industry is so new. So it's a great opportunity, especially for young people, to get in this, because there's not a lot of requirements to get in. Like, you don't need a degree or anything. You can do it, and you can make money and improve your life. And that's what I think is the goal here with this.
That is the threat to the industry, is that, we found a way that is cheaper, that it makes sense, that it's a win-win for everybody, except for the industry that is profiting right now, out of the energy. So these are the battles that we are confronted with, not only here in California, but this is nationwide, and the world, really. There are ways to minimize the impact on climate change. There are ways that we can minimize cost. There are ways that we can minimize, the all the destruction that fossil fuels bring. But the problem is that there is no will right now from the political side to be able to rectify this, to be able to create or allow this new ventures, these new ideas to flourish because of money. That's the bottom line, because of money. Here in California, we have some great news. There's a bill, AB 1400, that has been introduced by Assemblymember Ash Kara. We are so excited because uh, this is a possible bill that can make California the first state to have universal health care for everyone. AB 1400, Google it. Hashtag AB 1400. So I believe we have a timeline of some of the next steps for that bill, but there will be a hearing coming up this Tuesday, January the 11th. Everything is going to happen quickly. Everything is going to happen quickly. So it has to go right now to the healthcare committee, and hopefully it passes there. Then it goes to appropriations committee, and that's where the challenge is. This is where you have the opposition coming really strong against it. They're already running ads to scare people, to think, oh my God, they're going to raise your taxes, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. The only taxes that are going to be raised are on the rich and corporations. That's where the main taxes are going to come from. But everyone, absolutely everyone, will be benefited by AB 1400. If it does reaches the governor's desk, it will be a decisive moment for the governor to allow some of his promises that he said that he will do in behalf of those that are uninsured. AB 1400 does all these things. You talk about there's no co-payments, all this other stuff. The insane amount of money you have to pay for medicine, the insane amount of money that you have to pay, to be transported by ambulance. I know that because a few months ago, I had to be transported by ambulance, and they literally transported me for one block and charged me over $3,000. One block, $3,000. Crazy. So, and that's for the people that have healthcare coverage already. What about the ones that they don't? Which are millions of people that have no health insurance. There are a whole bunch of clinics they open up. Like I say, there are good intentions and there are band-aids, but those are not policy and solutions. So far, we have a whole bunch of band-aids everywhere, but they are not solving the problem. We need policy change. AB 1400 will do that.
Yeah, what happens to people who can't afford that paramedics bill is that they have a relative drive them, and sometimes they die on the way because they didn't have any care. Or something terrible happens to them on the way because there was no paramedics there to resuscitate them or give them something, and that's what's happening. The cost is just so great that people are willing to take the risk on their lives because they don't want to be in debt with medical bills. And this legislation in California, CalCare, is fantastic. It's going to provide coverage for all residents of the state. It'll allow them access to any doctor regardless of network, which is a big advantage over the way Medi-Cal works, is that you have to be in the in a particular group, and you can only go to a doctor within that group, and then you have to get a referral. There's a lot of steps there with the way Medi-Cal works right now, and with CalCare that would be eliminated, and their goal is to lower prescription drug costs. Of course, the United States has like the highest prescription drug costs of any industrialized nation. Canada has great deals on prescription drug costs because their healthcare is nationalized, so they have the ability to negotiate that. There's a lot of power there in order for them to do it. And the way that they would like to fund CalCare is through tax hikes on businesses and the wealthy. And I think that's pretty fair. I think that
It's more.
this would be like through income, payroll, and business taxes that would be on wealthier citizens in the state.
Look,
So
here's something to think about. Corporations and the wealthy benefit from the same roads that are paid by taxpayers that pay a lot more than they do based on numbers. They benefit of, again, the airports, and the list goes on and on. So why all of a sudden this is not beneficial to them because they have to pay taxes? They just have to pay the first share of taxes, period. No one is asking them to pay excessive. It's fair share of taxes. Fair share, people. And all of us should be able to be behind this. And if you buy into this narrative that they're just going to tax us more and tax this and tax that, those are the lies that the insurance companies are going to be pushing. And if you fall for that, you're part of the problem. You're not paying attention. As simple as that. You are not paying attention.
and the raise in taxes is not even that significant. You're looking at right now, like for a business that makes at least $2 million in annual revenue would be subject to a 2.3% payroll tax. Companies with at least 50 employees would be subject to a 1.25% tax. And employers who pay employees at least $49,900 would be subject to a tax of 1%. So it's a small percent tax. The wealthy citizens of California, including a 0.5% income tax, would include a 0.5 income tax on people earning at least $149,509 and a 2.5% tax on people earning more than 2.48 million per year. So this is not going to affect working class people. Working class people are not going to get taxed. Small businesses are not going to get taxed. This is all being deferred to people who make a lot of money and businesses who are doing very well. So it's a small amount. And it's going and these businesses, I think they should really look at this in a positive light because it's a small tax to pay to keep your workers healthy.
Exactly.
And it's better for them, for the business, to let the government provide those services than for them to provide those services. And this was a struggle that was happening in the 19th century. It's the reason why economists in the 19th century thought that capitalism would inevitably lead to socialism because they figured that businesses would benefit from having the government provide these services for their employees so that they wouldn't have to, and then they wouldn't have to worry too much about how much they were paying their employees, because that would be offset by a public healthcare system or a welfare system that was not in their hands. So it's completely illogical and completely inefficient for businesses to be opposed to this.
But you got to see the ones that are really opposing this are the insurance companies.
Yeah, exactly.
Breaking in billions of dollars in profit. These insurance companies have made more money during this pandemic than we can even think about.
Mm-hmm.
People have lost their health insurances. People lost their lives because they had no coverage. And for us to support that narrative that, oh my God, they're going to tax you. No, you're going to get benefited by this. You're going to receive benefits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what you're going to receive. Yep. Stop listening to the lies of the insurance companies. Pay attention. Our big shout out today to Assembly Member Ash Kara that took this on. He took this on, and and he's being the face of this. He has put his name right behind it. He's fighting. See, this is what I love about a politician when they do the right thing. A lot of politicians introduce bills, and they make it look like they're doing something, but then they don't fight for it. I love a politician that not only introduces a bill, but are willing to put their seat on the line and fight for what they actually introduce. That's why we had a failure on AB 562, because you have politicians that introduce something, but they were not willing to fight for it. So far, Ashkara, Assemblymember Ashkara, has stood his ground, and he's being a voice, and he's out there with the advocates, with the activists, with the grassroots, with those that are advocating for healthcare for all. He's being out there with them, side by side, shoulder to shoulder. So a big shout out to him right now, because he's proven to be a man of his word, a man that is willing to fight. But alongside with him, there are other 20 co-sponsors of the bill. I don't have the list in front of me, but there are other 20 co-sponsors that are going forward with this. Many now are paying attention and are looking at this in a different way. So we're going to remain very optimistic, because what we are seeing, and I think, and I'm praying that this will actually move forward more quickly than we think it will. There's a big possibility that it can happen. We just got to stay focused. We have groups up and down the state of California fighting for this, out there in the streets. Yesterday, the nurses union had one of the biggest events, statewide events, 15 events at the same time, all over the state, up and down the state, from the northern all the way to the south. 15 events took place yesterday, where people just came out and supported, CalCare, AB 1400. They actually had car caravans, and decorated their cars, and they just drove all over the city. This is the kind of energy that inspires people. This is what is needed. But we need leaders. We need leaders to say, you know what, I'm going to put my seat on the line. I'm willing to do for what is right. So, again, we tip our hats. We commend Assemblymember Ash Kara, because he's doing that. He's taking leadership. And when people take leadership, when they look behind them, there's going to be people behind them. So we have an entire, Medicare for all advocacy groups behind him. And the movement is going to continue to grow in these next few weeks. Watch and see. Watch and see some of the things that we have in storage, that people are organizing to bring attention to this very issue that has for a long time needed to be on the front and center of our policies here in California. If we successfully pass AB 1400 in California, it will be the first state in the nation to offer healthcare for all, universal healthcare. Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be fantastic. It would change lives.
Yes.
I benefited from the Obamacare Medicaid expansion in California, which because I didn't qualify for Obamacare because I'm a student, and I had an allergic reaction at a university that I was at. I ate something in the cafeteria that had wheat in it, and it was mislabeled. I had to take a paramedic to I did take an ambulance ride to the local emergency room. And without being part of that expansion, being covered under Medi-Cal, I would have had to pay thousands of dollars for that ride. I paid nothing. I paid $0.
Wow.
Because the state covered it.
Right
So
now,
it
dispute with my work. As you know, I announced my retirement for the post office, but because I had not been able to work for over a year, they dropped my health insurance. 35 years in the post office, and I have no health insurance from the postal service. Of course, I'm fighting that. I'm fighting them now to restore my health insurance. But how insane is that? You work for 35 years, a pandemic hits, the doctor says you're not able to assume certain responsibilities within your work. Your work sends you home because they don't like you because you're even representing the workers and you have been winning cases against them. So this is an opportunity for them to put you out. And all of a sudden, you find yourself with no health insurance. These are the reality, people. And that's my case. People don't know that. Right now, I owe thousands of dollars to hospitals because I do suffer from a lung condition. And it is hard because sometimes I need to get treatments. I was hospitalized over Christmas. Why? Because I ran out of medicine and I could afford it. I didn't have no medicine. For 2 days, I couldn't get my medicine that I needed. End up in the emergency room. You don't want to see my bill. But those are the realities that a lot of people are facing. So we got to fight like hell. We cannot buy into these lies that insurance companies give us. And certainly, we cannot stand behind politicians that are taking money from insurance companies so that they can stay in power. We got to get rid of them. We got to stand strong, people. We got to stand united, and we got to fight like hell so that everyone, absolutely everyone, have access to healthcare. We don't need cheap healthcare. We don't need just accessible healthcare. What we need is free and universal healthcare. That's what we need. Everyone in, nobody out.
right. We're the richest nation in the world, and we're the only one of the richest nations that doesn't provide universal health care to its people. It it is incomprehensible to me that we have gone this long without universal health care. It's a complete failure. And we put so much money towards the military budget that it doesn't make any sense. If we're willing to deficit spend for war, why aren't we willing to spend for healthcare? And it costs a lot less. And we're spending more money on healthcare now than we would be if we had a universal healthcare system. So it's just another one of those things of like, what? Why is this
I
still okay?
I know I get overexcited sometimes when I'm sharing these things
hmm
because I talk to people on the ground. I'm out there on the ground. I meet people where they're at. I feel their pain. I met this gentleman that prior to the pandemic, he used to own two stores in downtown Los Angeles, a clothing store and a shoe store. Few months after the pandemic, he couldn't keep up with the rent, couldn't keep up with all the bills that he owed, and he lost the two his two businesses that had him for years. He told me that he had him over 20 years. That was his source of income, being able to take his family and everything. And I met this gentleman over at the food bank line. He would get there early in the morning. I think it was 2 o'clock in the morning. He would get there and stand in line so that he can receive food. That's the reality that a lot of people are facing. It's easy to judge. It's easy to look down at people when you have everything or when you have some form of security. But if I have learned anything in life, you could be sitting high one day and you could be knocked out the next day. So I learned not to judge anyone. And I learned that I need to fight for those that don't have. because it could be me, or it could be my family, it could be someone that I know, it could be you that I'm fighting for, or that we fighting for. We in this thing together, people. Corporations and the rich don't care about us. Do you think Elon Musk cares about you or Bezos? They don't care about us. That's the reality. They don't.
Yeah. Oh, lost you, Carlos. But we are out of time now. So I think we should wrap it up. Oh, there you
Yes.
are.
All right.
So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us today. We are out of time. You've been watching Stand Up Fight Back, where we discuss strategy and analysis for the progressive movement. I think I forgot this at the beginning of the show, our usual introduction. So I'll do it at the end. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm Margot Paz. I'm a scientist, engineer, and occasional journalist. And this is Carlos Marroquin, our other co-host. He's an amazing, amazing grassroots organizer and a longtime mailman, but now working with the AIDS World Health Organization.
AIDS Healthcare Foundation.
AIDS Healthcare Foundation.
And by the way, my opinions are my opinions. I'm not representing.
Not theirs.
I gotta make that clear.
Yeah, our opinions are our own and do not represent our employer. So thank you everyone once again for joining us. Please be careful. Please be safe. The Omicron virus is very, very contagious, and a lot of people are getting it. So make sure you stock up on Pedialyte and soups, and because you're gonna need it.
I like to dedicate today's show to my mentor, Jackie White. She passed away last night. And there's so much I can say about her. She's the one that got me involved into the labor movement. She got me early, 30 years ago. She wrapped her arm around me and say, "We need you." And she began to mentor me. Jackie White was a National Association of Letter Carriers Branch 24 trustee. She also was the California Association of Letter Carriers Director of Education. But more than that, she was a friend. She was someone that you can see her in the eye, you can trust her, and she will guide you and tell you the right thing to do, even when it was hard, even when it was wrong. When you were wrong, she will tell it to you, but she will guide you in a way that it made it easier for you to make that change. Jackie White has left behind family, of course, daughters and grandchildren, and a whole bunch of people that love her. Her smile was radiant, welcoming, and you knew that when you were in her presence, you were pretty much in good company. Jackie White, rest in peace.
Thank you, Carlos. That was wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. All right, we really do have to go. So thank you everyone for joining in with us today. Thank you for watching. We're here every Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. We simulcast on Facebook and YouTube. So please follow us and hit the subscribe button on YouTube, especially because I don't think our Bernie Sanders Brigade page has come back online, and we don't know if it ever will. So YouTube is especially important for us. That's Insight Out News, INSIGHT Out News. We'll see you next week, everybody. Stay safe and wear a mask. Thank you. Bye-bye.